I'm back to history class in year 12, where we've just been asked to give a solo presentation in front of the whole class. And it's actually worth a big chunk of our marks. And as a result, my body goes into fight or flight mode. My face goes red. My heart beats 3 times faster. And my brain fucking attacks me. It sends those thoughts of what's going to happen and just the worst case scenario over and over. And as a result of this, I act like a bitch. After that class, I went to speak directly to the teacher and I asked him if I could have just give the presentation just to him alone. So everyone else was giving the presentation in front of the whole class, but I was a little bitch and I just gave it to him. And I never wanted to feel like that again. So over the next few years, I researched anxiety, how to stop it, implemented it, figured out what's worked, and now I want to help you do the same. So that's basically what this video is. Me teaching you everything I know on how to stop anxiety. First of all, around 2 years ago, I struggled really badly with sleep until I implemented one little strategy. Sorry, I'll get to this in a second. So I struggled really badly with sleep until I implemented one strategy where all I changed was, okay, I'll back up a little. I couldn't sleep because my thoughts, I couldn't control my thoughts, and my thoughts would just play out shit in my head, and I just couldn't sleep. I was afraid of the thoughts in my own head, and that would prevent me from sleeping, and that would make it worse over and over again, and it would just be a cycle of shit. Anyway, I fixed it by, instead of just allowing my thoughts to play out in their head, I had my iPad to the side, and I had a anime review or a movie review, some sort of long form discussion where I could focus entirely on the audio playing, have my eyes closed, and instead of the thoughts, I'd be listening to the review. And that seemed to work immensely. But yes, it may have worked, but at what cost? I was literally saying to myself, I'm afraid of my own thoughts. And I'm constantly giving myself the message that I'm afraid of my own thoughts because I kept doing that. And that led to a bunch of unforeseen negative circumstances. Yes, I may have slept a bit better, but came up and that made my other negative emotions during the day a lot worse. Like my anxiety was a lot worse because of this type of shit. And the lesson I learned from all this was you need to learn to sit with and actually process your emotions. Because if you don't process your emotions, all of those other negative emotions like anxiety and during the day when stuff's happening, those negative emotions are going to be so much worse than if you actually sat down, processed, and took the time to understand yourself. To make this a bit easier, you need to sit with your emotions, and there's a few don'ts that you really need to not do. You need to not bottle them up. So don't just refuse their entire existence. And not having an outlet for this. Also, a big thing is men in general, especially young men, they think it's weak to talk about your emotions, it's weak to even have those emotions, and that you should just disregard and bottle them up. That is one way to blow up and make all of your negative emotions 100 times worse. So, what to do? You need to find some sort of outlet for it. Whether that's exercise, working hard on a business, those two are usually the fucking best. Or some sort of like mindfulness practice. I'll get into that a bit later. You do not want to be distracting yourself so that you don't actually give yourself time to actually think. Because if you're just constantly stimulating yourself with like social media or a TV show or just literally anything, you don't even give yourself the chance to breathe or think. When you do have moments of silence, what do you think is going to happen? Your brain is just going to be borderline attacking you, and that's what you're going to feel like, and then you're going to distract yourself more, and it's going to be this nice little self-replicating loop. And we don't want you to run away either. It's the same point from don't distract yourself or bottle it up. You don't want to be running away from your emotions or trying to hide from it. And you don't want to drown out. It's basically 4 different ways of saying the same thing. Sit with your emotions and don't run away from them. Okay, an analogy is picture yourself as like a glass of water, and picture each time you have some sort of negative emotion that you bottle it up, you distract yourself, you avoid yourself from feeling that negative emotion, that you now add water to that glass. And by doing this over and over again, you get to a certain point where the glass actually overfills, and then by that point, your life is just in absolute disarray. Once it gets to that certain point, you can't control your emotions and nothing seems to be going well for you. Okay, how do you actually remove water from the glass then? Well, first off, you have to sit with and actually process your emotions just like I said. By actually processing your emotions, you slowly remove some of the water that you've built up. Nice voice crack. And some of the other things you can do is what I'll be listing earlier, but just for spoiler's sake, things like exercise, working hard on a business, and mindfulness practices. And then, of course, understanding the self more, like journaling. Why am I hiding? What am I hiding from? Am I scared of failing? Why am I scared of failing? And then delving deeper into why. Again, you might have that feeling in the back of your head that you're a bitch for thinking these type of thoughts, that I'm a man, I shouldn't have to process emotions, just fucking be strong and keep going. But no, that's how you get the glass to overfill, and then your life's fucked. So, now, process your emotions. And very quickly, this is relevant to anxiety, because my anxiety flared up the worst when I was doing all of these things. When I wasn't sitting and processing my emotions, my anxiety would be 100 times worse. And there are foundations to reducing anxiety, and this is one of the core foundations. So it isn't like not related to anxiety. It's a fucking good practice to do. Anyway, moving on. Bit of a shameless plug. I do have a course down in the description on helping young men become genuinely happy, and as a byproduct, helping men become less anxious. If that sounds like something you'd be interested in, down in the description. If not, just continue on. Continuing on from the foundations, bad habits make it 10 times worse. So as you can imagine, doing those bad habits that actually inhibit your ability to process emotions make anxiety, again, 100 times worse. Okay, so when we're anxious, when we are actually having like an anxiety attack where we're so in our own head, where we can't do anything, where we have that fear response, we are anything but present with the situation in hand. We're imagining the future scenario or past scenarios. We're not present in the moment. And to be present in the moment is to, by definition, not be anxious, because you're in the moment. That's when your conversations and the activity you're doing, that's when it's going to be most enjoyable. That's when you're going to be most productive, when you're present. And anxiety stops us from being present. And guess what bad habits stop us from doing? It stops us from being anything but present. When you engage in all of these bad habits, they absolutely fuck your dopamine receptors up. And then this in turn makes it worse for your emotional processing, and it makes being present actually hard because your brain is just not functioning. Okay, I'll very quickly explain what bad habits actually do to your dopamine levels. So it's a quick little diagram. So this middle line is our baseline levels of dopamine, where we're in like a neutral mood where we just feel normal. We're just existing. We don't feel particularly good. We don't feel particularly bad. When you do a bad habit, like you go watch porn, you go start scrolling, you go eat some junk food, your brain is going to feel great. It's going to be producing a lot of dopamine. It's going to go up, reach a certain peak where you're going to feel really good, and then it's going to crash. And then for the rest of the day, your dopamine is going to be trying to return up to a certain level of baseline. And then in this zone here, you're feeling like shit, your brain isn't productive. Your brain is functioning a little like 50%, if not less, maybe a little bit more, but it's not functioning anywhere it should be. And then, whilst you're in this zone, how do you think your anxiety is going to react? Yeah, it's going to be a lot worse than, or if you were doing good habits that give you the good dopamine instead. Quickly draw the graph for good dopamine. So it's literally just that instead. It's just slight increase throughout the day, and that's when you're doing things like exercising, talking with your friends, just sunlight, normal stuff like that. The good habits that you typically see on like a self-improvement channel. So now I want you to imagine two different people. Say two of the exact same person, but they just did different like habits before going to a party. So person one, he works out, meditates, eats some chicken and rice, and then goes to a party. And then the second person, he jerks off, watches porn, scrolls, and eats a pizza. Who do you think is going to be more present at the party, more able to have better conversations, and just enjoy the party more? Who do you think is going to have more anxiety? Who do you think is going to be suffering with more negative emotions? Who do you think is going to feel worse in their body? Yeah, I don't even have to say the answer to that. It's fucking obvious. So that's just to say, bad habits make anxiety 100 times, 10 times worse. So you need to work on slowly cutting out bad habits. And the best way to do that is to start extremely small, to use the analogy of progressive overload, but for habits. So progressive overload is just a gym term when you want to get stronger. It's just, you wouldn't come into the gym expecting to bench 140 kilos. Start with the bar, go to 25, 30, 35, 40 over a few weeks. So it's literally just consistently getting better with a small amount over time. Just progressing in whichever way you can. That's all it is. So that your body then slowly adapts to the weight, and it can slowly get stronger and stronger and stronger. And we can apply this same technique to habits by starting extremely small. Or say we're cutting out porn. We're cutting out porn, for example. You currently watch porn 7 times a week, for example. Okay? Let's cut it down to 6 times a week. And then week 2, 5. Week 3, 4. Week 4, 3. Just slowly cut the amount of times down, and that will give your body so much more of an opportunity to actually fucking break the bad habit. You don't know how many people that try to go cold turkey that just don't break the habit because your body is so addicted to the current feelings you get from it that you just won't be able to cut it out. Okay, now that you hopefully understand the foundations is to actually process your emotions and to break bad habits, now I'm going to give you a few strategies that actually help dealing with anxiety specifically. So first off is visualization. So I'll give you an example that I've used specifically. So I've cold approached probably over 100 girls now, and the times where they've gone the best has been where I'm sitting in my car beforehand, where I go in with the intention that I'm going to be cold approaching, and I visualize the cold approaching going exactly how I want it to go. So I visualize it in autistic levels of detail, them smiling, me being confident, everything I want to happen, I visualize it playing out in my head before I go into the event. And you can use this for anything you want to do better at beforehand. It's best used before, like right before you do an activity. And what would this make me do? It would make me perform so much better because like my body, it already knows what to do. It's already been shown to do this before, so just do it again. And it primes your body in a way that anxiety is lessened because you don't know. Because anxiety, a lot of what anxiety is, you don't know what's happening. You don't know what's going to happen, or you're scared of something. But when you come in with the frame of, this is going to be fucking awesome, I already know what's going to happen, you will feel so much better and be so much more likely to succeed. And then again, when I came into the cold approach with all of that positive energy, it was so much more attractive to the girls than if I didn't. So yeah. And how do you visualize specifically in autistic levels of detail? Well, you want to close your eyes, deep breath, and visualize in your mind's eye, create a mental picture in full detail of what you want happening. And by full detail, I mean from the ground to the walls to some sort of chairs, literally anything, full detail. And then give your senses a bit of a shot as well. So what are you going to feel? Maybe the ground touching your feet, smell, maybe what can you hear? Asking yourself these questions and creating a picture as vividly as possible. And the number one key for making this more effective is to actually feel the emotion. You want to feel the emotion as if it's already a success. So as if you've already succeeded, you want to get that success feeling. And this is how your body remembers. And then that situation, it'll be a lot better. So yeah, visualization helps out a lot. So yeah, that's it for the video. Appreciate you watching. Make sure to like and subscribe. It does help me out a lot.